company Lostwax, who they're here for residency this week, which we're very excited about. It's not work that we've seen live before.
No one has seen it, including me.
Only video.
We're going to show a few things on Friday, but the new work we're working on is a piece called Particular. And I'm interested in exploring kind of the idea of a flock. So, what is
a flock?
A flock.
Oh, yeah. A bird.
A birds, right? Or a school of fish, or you know, what happens, or an ensemble of dancers, right? What happens when we have a group which is a whole, and then at the same time is individuated, so there are specific individuals within that group. So, and one of the things that's great about the company is that there are a bunch of different kinds of bodies, and people have different kinds of backgrounds and different kinds of dance backgrounds, and so they function beautifully as an ensemble, but they also, the individual is specific and interesting, and that is something I'm interested in. So if we think about something like a rock garden, we think about, you know, they have some big rocks and then there's a lot of gravel. So we think about the gravel as a singular thing. But if we actually look, oh look, this little piece of gravel is really different than that little piece of gravel, and that's interesting.
And where did that idea start for you? I mean, just because it seems like just me taking a look at some of the videos of some of the past works, that there's definitely an interest in specifics and in particular, and maybe even things that people, in details, maybe things that people don't even notice often. So how did that idea, that general interest, get specific with the idea of particular, this piece?
In some ways it had to do with who we're working with. I've been collaborating with Luc Dubois, who's the composer, and then he and I work on the media together. This is the third major piece we've made. And so when we were kind of tossing around, what is this piece, I had some really vague ideas, like the rock garden at Kyoto is a compelling image for me, and or the rain, and how like raindrops are simultaneously the rain and also again the specific. And I'm a very visual and sort of environmental person, so ideas work for me in that sort of vague visual environmental space, rather than it's about Hansel and Gretel. You know, like this is the story. It's not about a story, it's much more about a place and a state of being in that place. Is much more, it's more about a feeling. There's a famous Zen saying that I love, which is, when you walk in the mist, you get wet. Which is to say that you get wet not because of a bucket or even because of a rain shower, but because of the tiny little specks of water. Slowly you get wet. And I feel in my work that I'm interested in a revealed understanding or a sense of meaning in the piece that we, the audience, understands in that same kind of way. So it's not that you walk out the door saying, this was the story, this was the narrative, it went from A to B, but it's more like, oh, it felt like I was in this world. So this world is about this, and the whole idea about community is something that I've been investigating in different ways for a long time. It's interesting to me. So I had this idea generally, and then I was walking home one day after assembling. Some of these folks have worked with me, and some of this is some are new and some are old. And just really delighting in the difference of who they are as people, and also how how well they work as an ensemble. And the word particular as a title also is a play on words, right? So it's particular in terms of this particular thing, but it's also, we say, oh, that's particular, which means weird or strange or unusual or surprising. My work is multimedia dance theater, so I use computer technology extensively in the work. And in computer animation, there's something called a particle system. So interested in one of the things Luke and I had been talking about as a basis for a visual world was particle systems. So again, particle, particular, and then also there's a mathematical equation called the Boyd's algorithm, which is a relatively simple equation which you can use to define flocking. So the bats in Batman Returns, the flocks of bats are animated using this mathematical equation. So we're interested in all of the different plays of what is particular and particle and me, and trying to roll that around in our world.
Feels like, I mean, the way you describe it, it feels like an immersive environment is what you're intending. So how do you get to that in this space?
Well, that's one of the things about being here, which is really exciting to us. A lot of companies work with media these days. It's a very sort of normal thing to have video in your piece. But very often there's a videographer or video maker who kind of either works in parallel or comes in at the end and kind of sticks something inserts it into the work. And for us, it's very important that the gestation of the work, all of the different parts are made in dialogue. So we're not making different pieces, we're making a world. So even if it's not immersive in a virtual reality kind of way, it's immersive in a singularity kind of way. And one of the great things about working with Luke is that a lot of times you have a collaboration and you have all of this discussion about how are we going to collaborate and what do we, how do we even have a language to talk? And Luke and I have never done that. Luke just said, hey man, let's make something. And I said, great. And then we make things. And so it helps that we both have a lot of experience working with the same programming environment, because there's a basis in the media world of understanding. And so that provides, Luke is a world-class programmer, so it's great for me to work with him, because there's a lot of times when I can sort of have an idea and then he executes it about as fast as I can have the idea.
Well, we're excited to see what it's like, because as you said, you're using technology in dance and in theater is definitely more of a thing that's happening. And it's not always in sync. It's sort of, it's often disjointed. And so I'm curious and excited to see how those elements along with the movement, the sound come together on Friday. And hopefully it'll be the first of many visits back to Kelly Strayhorn.
Be happy to come back. It's such a great luxury for us to just be here, and it's incredibly, people don't understand the amount of work it is to, everybody has a job, I mean that's not news to anyone, but to be able to come out of Providence and come here for a week and nobody has to worry about anything except the work, it's such an incredible luxury for us to be able to do that, and we're really thrilled and grateful. So thank you so much.
We're excited. That's why we're here, and we're looking forward to our audiences coming out to see the work and have a chance to give you their thoughts and feedback about it. Friday evening at 8 o'clock here at the theater with a mixer beforehand.